The containment cell hummed with energy barriers as Lieutenant Jake Morrison stared through the transparent wall at the Vryn prisoner. Her silver skin reflected the harsh overhead lights, and her forearms trembled as she pressed herself against the far corner. The war had been brutal, lasting 3 years across 12 star systems, and this was the first living Vryn anyone had captured. Jake's jaw clenched. His entire squad had died 2 weeks ago when Vryn forces ambushed their transport near the Kepler Ridge. He'd floated in his damaged suit for 6 hours, watching his friends' bodies drift in the void before rescue arrived. Now here he stood, face to face with the enemy. The alien's large amber eyes tracked his every movement. Her breathing quickened, visible through the thin armor she still wore. Jake noticed the scorch marks across her chest plate, the purple blood dried on her left shoulder. She'd fought hard before capture. "Why did you come to our worlds?" Jake asked, his voice steady despite the rage burning in his chest. "We never threatened you. We were just exploring." The Vryn woman didn't respond. Her translator device lay broken on the cell floor, destroyed during her capture, but her eyes spoke volumes. Terror radiated from her like heat from a star. Jake stepped closer to the barrier. The war briefings had painted the Vryn as ruthless conquerors, emotionless killing machines that slaughtered human colonies without mercy. But this creature before him looked nothing like those descriptions. She looked afraid. His hand moved to the control panel beside the barrier. The medical team wanted to run tests. Intelligence wanted information, and command wanted revenge. Everyone wanted something from this prisoner. Jake's finger hovered over the barrier controls. The alien woman's eyes widened. She pressed herself harder against the wall, her forearms wrapping around her torso in a defensive posture. Her mouth open, revealing teeth that looked disturbingly human, and words came out in her own language, musical, desperate words that the broken translator couldn't process. Then she tried English, broken, heavily accented English. "Please," she whispered, the word barely audible through the barrier. "Please, human." Jake's finger remained on the control panel. 3 years of war, billions dead, his friends floating in space, his home colony turned to ash. And here was one of them, begging for mercy. The alien woman's voice cracked as she spoke again, tears forming in those amber eyes. "Human, why are you looking at me like that?" Jake's hand trembled. The look on his face wasn't what she expected, and that terrified her more than anything else, because Jake Morrison wasn't looking at her with hatred or rage. He was looking at her with recognition, like he was seeing something in her that he hadn't expected to find, something that changed everything. Jake pulled his hand away from the controls and grabbed the damaged translator from the floor. His engineering training kicked in as he examined the circuitry. The power cell was intact, but the processing unit had been crushed. He had spare parts in his toolkit back in his quarters. "Stay here," he said, realizing how stupid that sounded. She was locked in a cell. Where else would she go? He returned 20 minutes later with his tools and a replacement processing chip salvaged from a communication device. The alien woman hadn't moved from her corner. Her eyes tracked him as he worked on the translator through a small maintenance port in the barrier. The device sparked to life. Jake slid it through the port into the cell. "Put it on," he said, gesturing to his own ear. The Vryn woman hesitated, then slowly retrieved the device. Her 4 hands moved with surprising grace as she attached it to the side of her head. The translator beeped, calibrating to her neural patterns. "Can you understand me now?" Jake asked. "Yes," she replied, her voice now clear through the translation matrix. "Why did you fix this? Your commanders will punish you. Maybe tell me your name." She paused, calculating whether honesty served her survival. "Zira. My name is Zira. I'm Jake." "Why did your people attack us, Zira?" Zira's 4 arms wrapped tighter around herself. "We didn't attack first. You don't know the truth. Your leaders don't tell you the truth." Jake's jaw tightened. "I watched your ships burn our colonies. I saw the aftermath on New Portland. Children, families, everyone dead. Don't tell me we started this." "Your explorers found our sacred worlds," Zira said, her voice gaining strength. "Worlds where our ancestors sleep in stasis, waiting for the Great Awakening. Your mining corporations didn't ask permission. They started drilling. They woke the Ancient Ones before their time. Thousands of our ancestors died because your people wanted minerals. Jake's stomach twisted. He'd never heard this version of events. The official story said human scouts had discovered uninhabited systems rich in resources. No mention of alien artifacts or sleeping populations. That's a lie, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Is it? Ask yourself, human, why would we attack you? We had no contact with your species before your drills pierced the stasis chambers. We lost an entire generation of our wisest elders because your corporations were greedy. Jake paced in front of the barrier. His mind raced through everything he'd been told, everything he'd believed. The timeline never made sense. The Vren had superior technology, yet humanity supposedly discovered them first. If they were so advanced, why hadn't they found Earth decades ago? The Meridian Mining Corporation, Jake said slowly. They were the first to establish operations in the Outer Rim. Zira nodded. On our world of Teresh Prime, 7,000 of our people died when the drills activated the emergency wake protocols too early. Their bodies couldn't handle the rapid revival. Your corporation called it an unfortunate accident and continued mining. Jake felt sick. He'd lost friends fighting for a lie. Or had he? Could she be manipulating him? Prove it, he demanded. Show me proof. How can I prove anything from a cell? But tell me, human Jake, why am I the first Vrin prisoner your military has captured in 3 years of war? Don't you find that strange? Jake did find it strange. Every battle report showed the same pattern. Vrin forces fought to the death. No surrenders, no captures, no prisoners. Until now. Why did you surrender? He asked. Zira's amber eyes filled with something that looked like shame. I didn't want to die. My clutch sisters all chose death over capture. They believed the stories about what humans do to prisoners, but I was afraid. I wanted to live, even if it meant dishonor. What stories, what do they say we do, that you dissect us? Take us apart while we still live, that you torture us for information and then destroy our bodies so we cannot join our ancestors. That humans are demons who feel no compassion. Jake laughed bitterly. We say the same things about you, that you're monsters who kill for sport, that you have no emotions, no families, no mercy. Zira moved closer to the barrier, her fear diminishing slightly. I have 3 children. They live with my bondmate on our homeworld. I joined the military because I wanted to protect them. I wanted to stop your expansion before more of my people died. Jake saw the holographic image she projected from a device on her wrist. 3 small Vrin children with silver skin and bright eyes, playing in what looked like a garden. A taller Vrin stood behind them, smiling. My daughter's name was Amy, Jake heard himself say. She was New Portland was her home. The cell fell silent. 2 warriors from opposite sides, both grieving, both questioning everything they'd been told. Zira's 4 hands pressed against the barrier from her side. Jake's palm met hers through the energy field, unable to touch but connected nonetheless. What do we do now? Zira whispered. Jake looked at the security camera in the corner of the room. Someone was watching. Someone always watched. His career was over. His life might be over, but he couldn't unknow what he'd learned. Now we find the truth, Jake said. And we make sure everyone else knows it too. The alarm started blaring before Zira could respond. Jake spun toward the door as heavy boots thundered down the corridor. Commander Lisa Barrett burst through the entrance with 4 armed guards behind her. Her face was red with fury. Step away from the prisoner, Morrison, she barked. Jake didn't move. Commander, we need to talk about the origins of this war. You need to follow orders. You repaired that translator without authorization. You've been communicating with enemy combatant without clearance. You've compromised security protocols. Barrett's hand rested on her sidearm. Last warning. Step away. Jake raised his hands but stood his ground. Did you know about Teresh Prime? Did you know we killed thousands of their people before the war started? Barrett's expression flickered. Just for a moment something crossed her face. Guilt. Knowledge. Then it hardened again. What I know is classified above your pay grade. What you need to know is that you're under arrest for treason. She nodded to the guards. Take him. 2 guards grabbed Jake's arms. He didn't resist as they pulled him toward the door, but he kept his eyes on Barrett. You know I'm right. You know the truth. How long are you going to keep lying to people who trust you? Barrett's jaw clenched. Get him out of here. As the guards dragged Jake into the corridor, Zira called out, Wait, please. He showed me mercy. Don't punish him for being honorable. Barrett approached the barrier, studying the Vryn woman. Mercy? We're at war. There is no mercy. Then you've already lost, Zira said quietly. Because without mercy, you're no different than the monsters you think we are. Barrett stood silent for a long moment. Then she turned and left without another word. The guards hauled Jake down 3 levels to the detention block and threw him into a cell. His military career was finished. Possibly his life was, too, depending on how far command wanted to push the treason charges. Hours passed. Jake sat on the metal bench, replaying the conversation with Zira in his mind. The pieces fit too well. The mining corporations had massive influence in the government. They'd pushed for aggressive expansion into the Outer Rim despite warnings from xenobiologists. When the war started, those same corporations had secured exclusive contracts for military equipment and supplies. They'd created the war. They'd profited from it. And they'd convinced good people to die for their greed. The cell door opened. Barrett entered alone without guards. She looked exhausted. I could shoot you right now and report it as attempted escape, she said, closing the door behind her. Jake met her eyes. But you won't. No, I won't. Barrett sat down heavily on the bench across from him. I've known about Teresh Prime for 18 months. The intelligence reports are classified at the highest levels. Only senior command has access. Why didn't you say anything? Because I'm a coward, Barrett said bluntly. I told myself the information might be wrong, that even if it was true, revealing it would destabilize the entire military. That more people would die if we stopped fighting now than if we just won the war quickly. She laughed bitterly. But we're not winning. We're barely holding our own. And every day, good soldiers die for a lie. Jake leaned forward. What happened at Teresh Prime exactly? Barrett pulled out a data tablet and handed it to him. Read it yourself. The original reports before they were sanitized for public consumption. Jake scrolled through the documents. Security footage showed massive drilling operations on a barren-looking planet. Then underground chambers being breached. Thousands of crystalline pods cracking open prematurely. Alien bodies convulsing as they woke too quickly, their biology unable to handle the shock. Meridian mining officials arguing with military advisors about whether to report the incident. The decision to classify it as an industrial accident and continue operations. Then the Vryn attacks began. Swift, targeted strikes against Meridian facilities. When human military forces defended the mining operations, the conflict escalated. Within 6 months, it was total war. The Vryn weren't attacking humanity, Jake said slowly. They were attacking Meridian. We made it a war. The government made it a war, Barrett corrected. Meridian has lobbyists in every major political position. They convinced leadership that the Vryn were an existential threat, that if we didn't fight, they'd wipe us out. A propaganda machine did the rest. Jake looked up from the tablet. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm done being a coward. Barrett stood and paced the cell. There are others who know the truth. Officers, intelligence analysts, politicians with a conscience. We've been quietly gathering evidence, building a case. But we needed a catalyst. Something that would force the truth into the open where it couldn't be buried. And I'm your catalyst. You and the Vryn prisoner. The first contact between our species where both sides survived long enough to actually talk. If we can get our testimony, combine it with the classified documents, and broadcast it before command shuts us down, we might be able to stop this war. Jake stood. They'll execute us for this. Both of us. Everyone involved. Probably. but I've got 3,000 dead soldiers under my command who died believing they were protecting humanity. I owe them the truth, even if it comes too late. Jake thought of Amy, his daughter who died on New Portland because a mining corporation wanted profit and a government wanted control. She deserved better than to be a casualty of corporate greed. What do you need me to do? Barrett smiled grimly. First, we break you out of here. Then we break your new friend out. Then we steal a ship and make a run for the neutral zone where independent journalists operate. Think you can handle that? Jake grinned despite the fear coursing through him. Sounds like a terrible plan. I'm in. Barrett pulled out a key card. Good. 'Cause we're leaving in 10 minutes. The corridor outside Jake's cell was suspiciously empty. Barrett had called in a favor with the night shift supervisor, a man named Marcus Cole who'd lost his entire family on New Portland. When he learned the truth about the war's origins, he'd wanted blood. Barrett had convinced him that exposure would hurt the corporations more than violence. They moved quickly through the detention block. Barrett's command codes got them past the first 3 checkpoints. At the 4th, a young guard named Danny Price started to raise an alarm. Cole stepped out of the shadows and knocked him unconscious with a single punch. Sorry, kid, Cole muttered, dragging the guard into a supply closet. You'll thank me later when you realize what we're doing. Zira's containment cell was 2 levels down in the high security section. Getting there meant passing through the main security hub where a dozen guards monitored every camera and sensor on the station. Barrett pulled out her tablet and typed rapidly. I'm triggering a false radiation leak in the reactor room. That'll pull most of the guards away. We'll have maybe 3 minutes before they realize it's fake. The alarm klaxon started immediately. Guards rushed past them toward the reactor level, shouting orders and checking their radiation badges. Barrett, Jake, and Cole walked calmly in the opposite direction, their command uniforms giving them authority that no one questioned during the chaos. They reached Zira's cell. She stood when she saw them, confusion clear on her face. We're getting you out, Jake said, working the barrier controls. But we need your help to end this war. Zira's forearms tensed. This is a trap. It's not, Barrett said. We know about Teresh Prime. We know what really started this war. And we're going to make sure everyone else knows, too. The barrier dropped. Zira stepped out cautiously, her amber eyes darting between the 3 humans. Jake handed her a military jacket. Put this on. Keep your head down. We need to get to the shuttle bay. They made it 3 corridors before the shooting started. Security forces had discovered the prison break faster than expected. Energy bolts scorched the walls around them as they ran. Cole returned fire, his military training evident in every precise shot. This way, Barrett shouted, leading them down a maintenance shaft. They climbed down 4 levels, the sounds of pursuit echoing above them. Zira moved with surprising speed, her 4 arms giving her an advantage in the cramped space. They emerged in the lower shuttle bay where civilian and cargo vessels docked. Barrett had arranged for a fast courier ship to be fueled and ready, but when they reached the designated berth, they found Captain Helen Cross waiting with a squad of military police. I'm disappointed, Lisa, Cross said, her weapon trained on Barrett. I trained you better than this. Betraying your oath, releasing enemy prisoners, stealing military assets. What were you thinking? Barrett raised her hand slowly. I was thinking about the 7,000 Vrin we murdered before this war started. I was thinking about the soldiers who died believing they were heroes, when they were really just protecting corporate profits. I was thinking that maybe the oath I took was to protect humanity, not to protect lies. Cross's weapon didn't waver, but something flickered in her eyes. You have proof of these claims? Classified intelligence reports, security footage, internal Meridian communications, all stored on encrypted drives. If you kill us here, the truth dies with us. But if you let us go, maybe we can stop this war before another generation gets sacrificed for corporate greed. The military police shifted nervously. They'd all lost people in the war. They'd all believed they were fighting for something noble. Show me, Cross demanded. Barrett slowly pulled out her tablet and brought up the files. Cross stepped forward, her eyes scanning the documents. Jake watched her face change as she read. Disbelief turned to shock, then to rage. These are real? Cross asked quietly. Every word, every image, all of it suppressed by command. Cross lowered her weapon. The military police looked at each other, confused and uncertain. Their captain had just stood down in the middle of an arrest. "I lost my son in the Battle of Kepler Ridge," Cross said, her voice tight with controlled emotion. "He was 19, believed he was saving humanity from extinction. You're telling me he died to protect a mining company's bottom line?" "I'm sorry," Barrett said. "He deserved better. They all deserved better." Cross stood silent for a long moment, then turned to her squad. "Stand down. Let them go." "Captain?" one of the officers questioned. "That's an order. Let them board the ship. Anyone who tries to stop them answers to me." Cross looked back at Barrett. "Get that information to the independent news networks. Make sure the whole galaxy knows what happened." "Make sure my son's death meant something." Barrett nodded, unable to speak. Jake, Cole, and Zira moved quickly toward the courier ship. As they boarded, more security forces arrived at the far end of the bay. Cross and her squad positioned themselves to block pursuit. "Go!" Cross shouted. "We'll hold them as long as we can." The courier ship's engines roared to life. Jake took the pilot seat while Barrett transferred the encrypted files to secure storage. Zira strapped into the navigator position, her 4 hands moving across the controls with practiced efficiency. "I know the routes through Vren space," she said. "If we're going to the neutral zone, we'll need to pass through my people's territory. Let me negotiate our passage." "Can you trust your own military not to shoot us down?" Cole asked. Zira's expression was grim. "No, but I can contact my clutch sister. She commands a patrol wing. If I can convince her that we're trying to end the war, she might escort us through." The ship lifted off. Behind them, Cross and her squad opened fire on the pursuing security forces, buying them precious seconds. As they cleared the station and accelerated toward open space, Jake looked back at the station one last time. Everything he'd known was a lie, but maybe, just maybe, they could turn those lies into truth. The courier ship jumped to faster than light speed, leaving the military station behind. Zira worked the communication system, broadcasting encrypted signals on Vryan military frequencies. For 20 minutes, there was no response. Then her clutch sister answered, "Zira, the military declared you dead. How are you alive? Why are you traveling with humans?" "Kira, listen carefully. Everything we've been told about this war is wrong. The humans didn't attack us unprovoked. A corporation called Meridian murdered our ancestors on Teresh Prime, and their government covered it up. These humans are helping me expose the truth. We need safe passage to the neutral zone." Silence filled the communication channel. Jake held his breath, hands ready on the weapon controls. If Zira's sister decided they were enemies, this chase would end quickly and violently. "Send me proof," Kira finally said. Zira transmitted the declassified documents Barrett had provided. More silence. Jake imagined the Vren commander reading about how her ancestors had been killed, how the war had been manufactured from corporate greed. "I'm sending you coordinates," Kira said, her voice shaking with barely controlled rage. "Meet me there. But know this, if you're deceiving me, I'll destroy your ship and everyone aboard." They followed the coordinates to a debris field on the edge of Vrin territory. 3 Vrin warships waited, their weapons powered but not locked on target. The courier ship docked with Kira's command vessel. Zira entered first, her 4 arms spread in a gesture of peace. Jake, Barrett, and Cole followed, keenly aware that they were now deep in enemy territory with no backup and no way home. Kira looked exactly like Zira, but with more scars and harder eyes. She studied the humans with obvious disgust, then embraced her sister. "I thought I'd lost you," Kira said. "When your ship was destroyed, I mourned for weeks. These humans saved me. They showed me the truth. We have a chance to end this war, but only if both our peoples know what really happened." Kira turned to Barrett. "You're a commander in the human military. Why betray your own people?" "I'm not betraying them. I'm trying to save them from their own government. Good soldiers are dying for corporate profits. That's not what I signed up to protect." Kira studied Barrett for a long moment, then nodded slowly. The Council of Elders should hear this. But they won't take your word alone. They'll need undeniable proof. We have it, Jake said, holding up the encrypted storage drives. Security footage, internal communications, classified intelligence reports. Everything that proves Meridian mining caused this war. Then we go to the neutral zone together, Kira decided. My ships will escort you. If anyone tries to stop us, human or Vryn, they'll have to go through all of us. The combined fleet, 3 Vryn warships and 1 human courier ship, traveled through space that hadn't seen cooperation between the 2 species since before the war. Both sides monitored them. Human military command sent increasingly desperate orders for Barrett and Jake to surrender. Vryn military command demanded Kira explain why she was protecting enemy combatants. They ignored both and pushed forward. The neutral zone was controlled by independent colonies that had refused to join either side in the conflict. It was also home to the largest independent news network in the galaxy, the Free Press Coalition. If they could get the information to the journalists there, it would spread faster than either military could suppress it. 2 days from the neutral zone, they ran into trouble. A Meridian corporate security fleet blocked their path. 6 heavily armed vessels designed for one purpose, protecting corporate assets. Turn back, the corporate commander transmitted. You're carrying stolen proprietary information. Return it immediately or face destruction. Barrett laughed bitterly. They're not even pretending anymore. They just called evidence of mass murder proprietary information. We can't fight them, Cole said, checking their weapons status. They've got us outgunned 3-1. Kira's voice came through the communication system. They don't have us outgunned. Ready weapons. If they want to fight, we'll give them one they won't forget. The corporate fleet opened fire. Kira's warships responded with devastating precision. Energy beams carved through corporate hulls. The courier ship dodged and weaved through the battle. Jake's piloting skills pushed to their limit. Cole manned the defensive system, shooting down incoming missiles. One of Kira's ships took critical damage, its shields collapsing under concentrated fire. The vessel started to break apart. Jake watched escape pods launch, knowing some of those Vryn crew wouldn't make it. We're not going to win this, Barrett said grimly. There are too many of them. Then something unexpected happened. Human military ships dropped out of faster-than-light speed behind the corporate fleet. Captain Cross's voice filled the communication channel. This is the Earth Defense Force Cruiser Vigilance. Meridian Security Forces, stand down, immediately. You're under arrest for obstruction of justice and conspiracy to commit war crimes. The corporate commander sounded panicked. You don't have authority over corporate assets. Actually, we do. 30 minutes ago, the United Earth government issued emergency powers authorizing the military to seize all Meridian assets pending investigation. Your company is done. Surrender or be destroyed. The corporate fleet hesitated, then powered down their weapons. Cross had brought 4 military cruisers and enough firepower to turn the battle completely. As the corporate ships were taken into custody, Cross hailed the courier ship. Barrett, you've got a lot of people angry at you back home, but you've also got a lot of people who think you're a hero. Get that information to the press. We'll make sure no one else tries to stop you. The combined fleet, now including both human military and Vryn warships, escorted them the rest of the way to the neutral zone. Jake brought the ship into dock at the Free Press Coalition headquarters, where reporters waited with cameras and questions. Zira and Jake walked down the boarding ramp together, one human and one Vryn, united by a simple truth. Wars built on lies couldn't stand forever. Sometimes all it took was 2 people willing to see each other as something more than enemies. The galaxy was about to learn what really started the war, and maybe, just maybe, we could find a way to end it together.